created the Kyber network, and Yaron became the CTO of Kyber network for a few years till basically early 2020. And during that time, basically developed some of the fundamentals, foundations of DeFi before it was even tagged as DeFi. Automated market making and things like that. And and after Yaron left Kyber in early 2020, he was consulting for a few projects, and some of them was liquidation bots, and that was when he learned and realized that the current liquidation system in DeFi is kind of broken or suboptimal. Let's call it that way. And then Black Thursday arrived, March 2020, and kind of demonstrated that those assumptions were actually right. And few people lost some money, and some protocols had to deal with that. And that's when B.Protocol actually became went into a real project. So briefly about B.Protocol. B.Protocol, basically, B stands for backstop, and B.Protocol is a backstop liquidity protocol for DeFi lending platforms. And a backstop is basically, we bring something, the backstop solution is something very familiar and kind of, a best practice, which is used on traditional finance systems and also on centralized crypto systems. You would find, backstop programs on, Bybit, FTX, BitMEX, all of these, and they're just still unknown and not used in DeFi. So basically, we do, we bring that solution with the right adjustment and the needed adjustments to basically serve the DeFi ecosystem. We launched October 2020, so about 8 months ago, and with integration on top of MakerDAO, and a few months after also on top of Compound. Currently holding roughly 160 million TVL, was up to 270, but users withdraw and deposit their funds in DeFi quite oftenly, and that's where we are. About a month ago, a little bit more than that, end of April, the community voted on the tokenized governance, and so currently the protocol is governed by the holders of B-Pro, which is the token, the governance token of B-Protocol. Let me know if you wanna, how deep do you want to get into the?
Sure. Actually, we definitely want to get into a deep dive, but for those joining us on the call from B.Protocol, I'd like to just switch gears real quick to McFly, who can give a quick introduction to 88 MPH so that you guys have an understanding, excuse me, of our project, and then we'll bring it back to Eitan to give us a nice high-level deep dive overview.
Yep, sure. So just a quick intro for new people joining us. 88 MPH is a protocol on Ethereum allowing you to earn fixed interest rates on your crypto and stable coins. And at the same time, also you can speculate on future yields. Doing all of that give you some MPH rewards that you can stake or do other stuff with it, like borrowing against them. So we are on mainnet since November 2020. And we are super close to release our V3 with a lot of improvement regarding developer experience, user experience, with a lot of focus on security, solvency, and of course, like growing the community. So welcome on board, everyone.
Perfect. Thank you, McFly. I'm going to bring it back to Eitan. So yeah, maybe you could just sort of give us the motivation behind the project, what sort of, and then, a nice deep dive into the project. Maybe you could sort of let us know some very obvious questions that usually come up about the project, how it works, and I'll pass that off to you.
Sure. So when we talk with people, most users, I think, in DeFi are kind of, and we had that, in just in the beginning of this call, people are kind of, afraid of getting liquidated, and liquidations are kind of, seems like, the evil side of, everything that can go wrong is kind of, zooms into getting liquidated. But basically, liquidations is, as a system, is what enables DeFi to remain safe. If unsafe vaults or accounts, won't get liquidated, basically the protocols that support them can, become insolvent. If you get, your debt. If you can't pay back your debt according to the collateral that you put in, on whatever platform you are using, you basically create a situation where the platform won't be able, or other users that actually gave that debt, won't be able to get their money back. So liquidations is kind of an essential part, a crucial part for DeFi to grow. And currently, when we look on DeFi lending platforms, on the ratio that they enable, most platforms, I think all platforms basically, offer something between 3 to 5x, on users' funds. So your collateralization ratio or collateralization factor is somewhere between, every maker is counting it a little bit different. Compound average, everyone is a little bit different, but something between 65%, 75% collateral factor. Some goes a little bit higher. Depends on your collateral type. And when you compare that to CeFi, to centralized finance systems on Bybit, BitMEX, all that, where you can get X100, which is kind of a 99% collateralization ratio. This is a huge difference and kind of something that's stops DeFi from from growing. And the main reason for that, this difference between those two systems is because you need this kind of buffer on the DeFi platforms, because liquidations are kind of on a voluntary system. Any account can call a liquidation to happen, but they make it, there's no commitment. No one actually, and this is exactly what happened on Black Thursday, where keepers, those who are responsible on, making liquidations when they are needed, were not functioning, because the ecosystem at that point in time was, suboptimal. They were afraid maybe they gonna, the conditions will not met, their profits were not promised, the network was clogged, many reasons. And what happens with a backstop basically is you get liquidators that are committed to the platform, and instead of paying high gas fees to miners because of all the gas wars that currently are happening between different liquidators, they actually share their profits that they make from the liquidation with the users of B.Protocol. So B.Protocol basically gives some kind of priority to the liquidators of B.Protocol. And besides of that, there's still, we, as I mentioned, we're integrated on Maker and on Compound, so you still get the exact same conditions as a regular Maker DAO or a Compound user, but on top of that, you will share 50%, of the liquidation profits that the liquidators are doing. And currently, of course, there's also a liquidity mining program, so you get also tokens as you use the protocol. So yeah, that's basically kind of the essence of a backstop, to create a better liquidation system for DeFi, to enable better and higher capital efficiency for both users and also for the platforms that use that backstop.
Eitan, could you just let our listeners know or get an understanding of how do you guys actually achieve the liquidations? Like, what sort of permissions do you have from the users? If you could talk a little bit about that as well. What sort of permissions do the users give up to the B.Protocol in order for them to actually liquidate you first?
So basically, when someone is importing, if you import your Maker Vault into B.Protocol, the Vault is still in Maker, and B.Protocol is basically kind of a wrapper around MakerDAO. And kind of a thin layer on top of MakerDAO. And what basically a user is giving kind of the ability for the liquidators to we have this kind of technical trick where liquidators kind of pay a cushion. They make some kind of a payment for the, usually I have a screen so I can actually show that, on the diagram, but they pay a small amount of your debt. They repay a small amount of the user debt when it's getting close to liquidation. And if the conditions are actually, if price, for example, is still going down and the user Vault is, actually supposed to get liquidated on Maker, then they can actually liquidate, the Vault. But because they already prepaid this cushion, other keepers in the MakerDAO ecosystem, same on Compound, will see that account as still being safe. But basically, it is not safe, because still it's not the user that actually paid, just kind of the liquidators paid part of his debt, and then basically this is basically how the priority is actually is being achieved. So yeah, besides of that, as I mentioned, all other conditions are exactly as the basic platform. So there are no differences. So basically, what we're keep on saying, to MakerDAO users and Compound users, basically there's only kind of upside of using B.Protocol. First, you will share the liquidation fees, but you also make the platform itself kind of more resilient to any sharp declines in the market, like a Black Thursday kind of event, because some of the liquidation pressure is being handed over to B.Protocol liquidators. Yeah, so kind of a win-win situation for everyone.
Yeah, cool. You were mentioning that capital efficiency is one of the benefits of the whole process. Capital efficiency seems to be such a huge, I don't want to say meme, but it's such a huge keyword, buzzword at the moment, especially with Uni V3 and Curve coming out. Why do you think capital efficiency is so important at this time? Do you know what I mean? In this time in DeFi?
Yeah, well, I think capital efficiency is something important all the time, and when you look, when you compare that to regular, doesn't matter, traditional finance or centralized crypto finance, what they offer, and if you look, the amount of money that is being traded on centralized exchanges, and you compare it, DeFi grew exponentially in the last year or year and a half. Since Black Thursday, for example, where the whole DeFi market was up to something around 1 billion in total, total TVL in DeFi. And currently, I haven't followed today, but around 80, 90, 100 billion, so 100x in a year and a bit. And still, users in DeFi can get a much smaller, can do much less with their funds on DeFi when compared to centralized finance systems. And I think this is not something which is, it's not a desired goal. It's just something that happens because of these less efficient systems that we are currently having in DeFi. And this is something that B.Protocol, a backstop, is a solution that kind of gap this these differences and enable users to get better efficiency, because platforms will be able to offer that, because they can be they can feel confident that those liquidations of the unsafe accounts will actually happen when they are needed. And because today platforms are not kind of sure that these processes, these liquidation processes, will happen as they supposed to happen, they need to have this big buffer between the price that someone, the collateral that you put, and the debt that you're that you can take, just for that. So in case something goes wrong, in case you're not paying back your debt when prices are going down, the keepers will have enough time to actually take care of things before you become insolvent. So this is something that solves.
Yeah, I love the backstop, because every time you were saying, if the liquidations aren't happening, I felt like we should have said you need a backstop, but obviously that's the name of your protocol.
Yeah.
I do wonder, at what point does the Uni v3 capital efficiency is slightly different to other forms of the word capital efficiency can be applied elsewhere. I do wonder, CeFi traditional finance is efficient in terms of getting up to 800% on a single piece of collateralization, but that is also a slightly undesirable goal, as it has caused many problems in overheating of the economy and whatnot. So I wonder where the middle ground is. What's a desirable goal for capital efficiency? Is it continuing to fold on yield, or is it is there a limit that we should be aiming for?
Yeah, that's a great concern, because we do want to kind of limit, I don't know if we want to limit, if someone, if we're looking at the, financial freedom and, let everyone do whatever they want, offer them whatever leverage and, that the system can handle, and, hope for them to be cautious enough. But I agree, this is an issue. And I think the other side of offering, better capital efficiency, offering a higher, let's say, go to X20 leverage from the X5 or X3 that we currently have on DeFi lending platforms, doesn't mean a user must take an X20 leverage on his funds. It means on the other side of the same of the same thing, that he will be liquidated. He will have a lot of more time, and the price will have to go much lower before he will get liquidated. So it gives him a better chance to rebalance his position before it actually get liquidated. So if you're getting the option for an X20, for a collateralization ratio of 95%, which is the equivalent, it doesn't mean you need to take an X20 leverage on your fund. It means you have better chances to kind of fix your position when needed. So that's basically makes users more safe in a lot of ways.
Sure. You're giving people the option to be a degen, but be it on their own head if they get liquidated at 20x leverage.
As someone said, ape responsibly. So yeah.
Yeah.
Guys, we've just been joined by Duncan from Immunefi. If it's okay with you guys, I know that we've got a lot of interesting questions for Eitan. I'm just going to pause here real quick. If I can just switch gears and pass it over to Duncan, who's joining us. Please go ahead and introduce yourself for our guest, please.
Hey guys, I'm Duncan. I'm a CTO here at Immunefi. Immunefi is the largest DeFi bug bounty platform. It's our job to surface vulnerabilities to projects before they can get exploited. And happy to say that 88MPH is one of our quickest responding clients. The event that we had on Monday was a resounding success on all fronts. No funds were lost, and yeah, everything's just going to proceed as normal. So my hat's off to you guys for really having your security house in order.
Thanks, Duncan. It's really helpful also from your side. Really appreciate it.
In a private call, McFly was saying definitely the most premium service he's ever experienced. So you're getting lots of love for for the way it was handled.
Yep.
I'm glad you guys are pleased. Yeah, we really strive to make that whole process as painless as possible. You know, we know that it can be really stressful, but you know, it's our goal to make sure that everyone comes out the other side with no funds lost and everybody happy.
Yep. Maybe you can walk through us, like explain quickly the platform, how it works, the user flow for everyone involved in Immunefi. Can you explain to everyone how it works?
Yeah, so projects will list a bug bounty program with Immunefi. We describe the assets that they're interested in protecting, as well as any sorts of rules for the program. You know, of course, we have pre-built rules that work for most people, but some projects have special needs. Once we've listed that, we have a large community of white hat hackers. These are, you know, some people who hack just as a hobby, some people who are full-time auditors, and some people who are actually retired auditors who you know, made it big and have retired, but you know, still do it on the side for fun. And we actually do have a couple black hat hackers who have decided that the bounties listed on Immunefi are good enough money that they're going to turn white for the right bounty. So these guys review protocols, they review the source code, they review the actual live contracts. If they find bugs, they submit them through our web portal. When that happens, my phone goes off, and we strive to have eyes on the bug and alerted the project inside of 10 minutes. And that's pretty much what happened on Monday. You know, once we validated the bug is real, projects can then see the details of the bug through our platform. We coordinate the fix and the disclosure process. If it's needed, we do war rooming, which is what we did with 88MPH. And at the end of it, the bug is fixed, the funds are safe, they're returned to their rightful owners, and everyone sails off into the sunset.
Yeah, that's what happened with us. So yeah, that's really a good user experience, customer experience for us too. And we will definitely renew the bounty there because it's not the first report we got from Immunefi. We got other report before, but it was like false positive, or it was like small issue. So it's really an active community from what I can see. And yeah, it's really, really probably more effective than any audit company you can have out there, at least until now. Our experience with auditors in like dedicated company is good, but I'm kind of not sure yet of the cost versus benefit versus having a community of auditors really active, looking at your code on a daily basis. It's really something building things more comfortable for everyone.
I have a
Awesome.
question for you. I have a question for you, Duncan, that I've always been curious about with these communities of auditors and the way that you are specifically structured in comparison to, say, a PEC Shield. How do you prevent, you said you have, say, black hat developers that decide the incentives to work with you are greater than whatever they benefit from an exploit. How do you prevent some kind of bug being found and that desire to exploit it? How do you mitigate that risk with some individuals?
It's really just about the economics of it. You want to list a large bug bounty, a bug bounty that makes a black hat go, you know, well, you know, I could make X if I hacked it, but I could make Y if I released it. And, you know, that Y, it's clean money. You know, I could go buy a house with that. I could, you know, report to tax authorities. I don't need to launder it. And also in some of these cases, right, the economic damage to the project may be orders of magnitude bigger than the money that the black hat actually receives. You know, just based on slippage, or, you know, how much it costs to launder money, or, you know, trying to bridge to a different chain, that sort of thing. So how do you mitigate the risk that a black hat, sees your bug bounty and says that looks like a juicy target, it's just listing a big bug bounty. The thing with black hats, right, is regardless of whether you have the bug bounty, black hats are going to look for a payday. So there's not really a risk to posting one. The risk is already there, once your TVL gets over a certain threshold. It's just an opportunity to turn black hats white.
I have a question. So you were talking about the costs of, laundering and the costs of, pulling out your money and these sorts of difficult technical sides. Like the moral cost of committing a black hat hack. Like, do you find that the people who come to you and say, I'm going to help instead of I'm going to hinder, do you find that they actually talk about the morality of it at all?
You're talking about two really different kinds of mentality. The black hats are generally the people who don't really think about the damage to the asset holders, to the projects themselves. They're thinking in a very mercenary way. What's mine is what I can take. The white hats are the people, or the avowed white hats, the people who the amount of money isn't really a factor. They're thinking about, how much can I help? What is the loss that I'm preventing by doing this responsible disclosure? They're related skill sets, but they're really different personalities.
Makes sense. It's interesting that you can bring people over to the good side, though. It's nice to hear.
Yeah,
Thank
definitely.
You, Duncan,
that was
for
one of the
answering.
things. Sorry, say again?
I just said I thank you for your response.
It's an interesting topic because we've got B.Protocol, I guess, which mentioned Eitan. You mentioned how you're building on top of other projects. What's the day-to-day sort of walkthrough of how you dot every I and cross every T in terms of security? And maybe Duncan, you can sort of jump in on this. You guys obviously are very experienced. Eitan, if you could just express to us a little bit about the security when you're building on top of these other protocols and the things that you do to maintain that level of security.
Sure. I'll try, though I'm not the technical side of B.Protocol, but Yaron Wellner is, being the ex-CTO of Kyber before launching, B.Protocol. So, first of all, getting an audit before, we do not believe in that, test in prod, which, became a thing in DeFi. And I think we see that it's kind of, becomes less and less popular. I think more and more projects are, getting audited as, more and more hacks are, people realize, it's people's funds are actually in risk. B.Protocol basically is, fully compatible on the smart contract layer with the platforms that we integrate with. So, basically it's, the attack surface is very small. There's it's kind of basically as safe as using Compound or Maker. So yeah, on that regard, it's kind of I think that's the main issues, and we are actually in touch with Duncan and his team on Immunefi, actually to check the option to actually go with the bug bounty, which we already have. We have a bug bounty, but it's not on Immunefi. So we were just checking, moving over and letting Immunefi kind of handle that.
So would you compare the actual risk factor of having your funds on B.Protocol? And I ask this because I switched from Oasis to B.Pro shortly before your token generation event for the governance token. And I'm a big fan of the platform. I like that I'm earning governance by actually using the platform. And would it be safe to say it's closer to the user interface of letting Oasis manage your vault from a risk factor?
Yeah, I would say that. I'm not a security expert, but from all the discussions that we had internally and externally on that, this is the situation.
Great, thank you.
And I'm glad that that B.Pro takes security seriously. You know, in DeFi, bug bounties should be your ongoing continuous security. You know, making sure you have good code practices before you launch, making sure you get audited. You know, when you launch new products, audit those products, not just on their own, but also in the context of the rest of the protocol. And then, you know, your bug bounty is your backstop, right? That's your last line of defense against black hats, and you're trying to convert black hats to white hats. It's really, it's a team effort, security.
Eitan, I have a question about the B.Protocol token. I'm just curious, is that just a governance token? Are revenues that are derived from the platform shared and given out to holders of the token? Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So there are basically two different systems on B.Protocol as a platform. We have a score which users gain as they use the platform, you know, just by depositing funds into Maker and Compound, and you know, taking debt. So you know, this is how this is how we started. You know, when we just started, the control over the protocol from day one was, you know, in the hands of the users, and it was not transferable. So you had your score, and the score kind of, you know, gave you the ability, you know, gave you the control, but it was locked for 6 months. We wanted to give the community some time, you know, to kind of build up and, you know, gain some more traction and, you know, give some maturity before actually we were starting to change things and, you know, handing over actual power. But basically from day one, governance was in the hand of the users. And B.Protocol was actually built around that. And as I mentioned, you know, about a month ago, a little bit more, end of April, this freeze ended, and users have voted with their score that they gained as they were using the protocol on a tokenized governance. And basically, that score that they had, you know, became B.Pro. And currently, you still accumulate score, which is used for, you know, how the jar, we collect the liquidation fees, the liquidation proceeds of the backstop into a jar. On Maker, it's being divided 50-50 between the liquidators and the users and the jar. And on Compound, it's nearly the same. About 3/8 go to the users, 5/8 of liquidations go to the liquidators, and this jar is being distributed according to users' score. And B.Pro currently is, you know, as you mentioned, you know, it's a governance token. It is not, you know, giving anything else currently. There is a staking option on Sushi and Uni. You know, we were looking, you know, the community was looking for a way to get more liquidity for the token. So it was something that the community has voted upon. And yeah, I assume the tokenomics, you know, the community will slowly build, you know, the tokenomics of the project as, you know, as the community will grow and the token will get, you know, more mature. But currently, B.Pro is a governance token, and, you know, all the yields, all the profits coming out from liquidations are being divided according to only to users, you know, and not only to token holders.
That's perfect.
So-
Thank you, Eitan.
I wanted to comment on something there. One of the things I really liked about what you guys did with your launch structure and it being possibly the strongest form of a fair launch that I've ever seen in cryptocurrency, given that it was entirely up to the hands of the actual people using the protocol and how much that they earned from the beginning and from when it was generated. What was your motivation and what was your intention with structuring it like that? Because I remember it being relatively controversial, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on why that was done.
Well, I think, this is, as I mentioned, this is exactly the thing. It's just like, there's both me and Yaron, been in this space for quite a long time. And you see a lot of things, come and go, and kind of, there's fashion, both names are changing, fashions are changing. But I think one of the main things, in DeFi is, actually giving the power to those who use your product. I think this is one of the things, not only in DeFi, but in any product you would like to give, sharing economy, at least, when you look at the sharing economy in general, this is something that you want to align, your the incentives, of users, and other stakeholders of your product. And I think this is exactly what happened in B.Protocol. Of course, also there's a lot of regulations, around DeFi, and this makes things, better for, at least for us as a non-Anon team. We cannot do, like Anon teams do whatever, whatever they want, being behind whatever, yeah, these walls of anonymity. The team is, transparent, sorry. And this is, we high believers in transparency, and this is what we did from day one with B.Protocol, and we hope to keep on doing that, going forward. And I think the community that was built around and still, growing around B.Protocol, kind of represent that as well. So yeah, that's basically it.
I believe that we have someone joining us. Ashik, if you want to go ahead and just introduce yourself real quick, please.
Cool. Hi, everyone. I'm Ashik. I'm a security researcher at IOCIDO, and I've been working with 88MPH and Immunefi on the incident on Monday. So yeah, I was just the guy that reported the bug. I'll be happy to take any questions as well.
Yeah, thanks, Ashik. I wanted to introduce you because I think it was important, like, as there was also Duncan with us. After we can go in details also with Zephram about the incident on Monday and the way we tried to patch that. I just wanted your quick opinion regarding the fact we were like reacting to this white black hat stuff. What's your vision regarding that, and how we can continue creating incentives for black hat to turn white?
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with what Duncan was saying about just having a really strong bug bounty with like high payouts. I've never really been in touch with black hats, but I think that if the payouts are high enough, it should be like quite easy to turn black hats into white hats. I'm not sure that it's really easy to always launder your money and get it out to fiat, so to say, which I think is what a lot of black hats do. So yeah, I think definitely we are getting into like a really strong culture of bug bounty. So I think just keeping the incentives up will be really good.
Yeah, regarding that, in terms of proportion, do you think it's like there is a minimum amount required for someone to turn black to white, and is it like a percentage of what is at stake? I mean, what is hackable or not hackable? Do you think it's working in terms of proportion, or is more about like a psychological level of, oh, okay, it's good enough money and I will turn white?
So I can actually speak to this a little. This was a topic of much discussion on the ETHSec Telegram channel a while back when Immunefi was just launching the idea of the scaling bug bounty. The question was, at what point would a black hat consider reporting a bug rather than exploiting it? And the general consensus there was it's around 10%. you can see from a bunch of these historical hacks that once you go through all of the hassle of swapping to the right asset, exchanging, laundering that money through something like Tornado Cash, losses are about 90%. Or sorry, they can be up to about 90%. So 10% is about where black hats start to pay attention to, oh, I could get that money free and clear and not have to worry about, the FBI coming after me.
Yep,
Yeah,
makes sense.
Definitely.
I have a question. So obviously, Duncan, you must deal very closely with all kinds of hacks and black hats and white hats. How many of these of black hats will actually, receive some kind of they will actually get a call from the FBI? They will actually go to prison for these kinds of things. I imagine that the rate is quite low.
It is. So there are firms like, I'm going to get this wrong. I think it's Chain Security who do contract with worldly governments and specialize in tracking down these funds, even after they've been laundered. When you're talking about, sorry, please excuse my cat. When you're talking about state-sponsored hackers, this would be people from like Lazarus Group in North Korea. There's no amount of money that you could offer them to get them to turn white because they'll never be prosecuted. Their government supports what they're doing. If you're looking at other hacking groups that, the long arm of the law can come after, that does become a real thing. The law does grind slow. I know of a couple cases, which unfortunately I can't comment on the specifics, but these are black hats who legal action has been pending against them for years. People know who they are, they know where they live, they know what they've been responsible for, but they haven't been arrested just because the legal system is slow. And DeFi is lightning fast, and especially so compared to the legal system of most democracies. So that is to say, there will be consequences. It just takes a while.
Yeah, and that's the thing. This is the thing that when you explain to people who don't necessarily know so much about blockchain and DeFi, when they say, "Well, isn't blockchain all visible? Isn't it all in the ledger where everyone can see it?" And it's very hard to explain. Yes, it is. You can see every single transaction. However, you can never really tell who's making those transactions. So it's a bit of a weird one.
Yeah, exactly. Pseudonymity is not anonymity, but it's also not the same as KYC AML.
True. It's privacy is also something that we're striving more for in the DeFi space at the moment. Lots of privacy protocols are getting very bullish on. So yeah, it's an interesting progression, I'm sure.
McFly, before you introduce some of the news, I'm just curious whether or not we should open up for Q&A, or do you want to go ahead first and we'll leave Q&A just from the general public at the end?
Just before going on that, I wanted to talk about the integration we will have with B.Protocol and the adapter that was built on OpenDeFi Hackathon. Yeah, so just a few details regarding that, and after we can circle back to the questions. So with Ethan and also Yaron, we were wondering how we can collaborate together, especially after the launch of RV3. So the plan was to incentivize some guys with Bounty, especially the one we were running with OpenDeFi last month. So we got a winner, is Uwe. He was with us here. He was with us. And so he won the Bounty. He helped us build this adapter for, basically it will offer 88 MPH user a way to earn fixed interest rate via the B.Protocol. So it's another layer on top of what we are currently doing with Compound. Why doing that? Because it will allow us to boost the revenue from this kind of deposit. We will be able to harvest the B.Pro, and we will be able to pack it into the cash dividend we are distributing to everyone with the MPH staked. So that's the main reason. Also, like it's also cool to have this new layer there, where it's multiplying the user case you can have with Maker and Compound. So we thought it was cool. The launch of the pool, we don't have a specific date yet, but it will be close to our launch with the V3. And yeah, Ethan, do you have some opinion, comments regarding that?
No, I think that's exactly it. It's as I mentioned before, we if you're using Compound, just like 88MPH is using it, and any other user, you just you can just amplify your yields, but just doing that via B.Protocol. And here, we just the integration, and maybe Uwe can say as the one who actually built that, because as I mentioned, the smart contract layer is compatible. Integrations are very easy to make, and yeah, we're very happy with this integration. We've been in touch with 88MPH for quite a while now, and was actually looking for a way to integrate. And then, as McFly said, it was a great opportunity during the Open DeFi Hackathon to try and utilize that. And yeah, and this is where we are. I can just say, we have a few other projects, soon are going to do something similar. So, just using the interface of B.Protocol, the smart contract interface, to interact with Compound, and yeah, that's cool.
I mean, it is sort of a no-brainer for anybody already using Compound to just go ahead and use B.Pro instead.
I agree.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, cool. So we will keep you posted, guys, regarding this launch, the new integration with the pools. Before going to the questions from the community, I wanted to circle back to Zephram, Duncan, and also Ashik to talk more about what happened on Monday, the way we handled the situation, and what will happen next. So maybe Zephram, you can just walk through quickly in 2 minutes regarding the past events and what we have in our plans for the future.
You mean like what happened or what was the issue?
Yeah, both. Like probably what was the issue and what happened and what will happen.
Yeah, so the issue was that for the affected pools, the NFT contract is can be initialized by anyone. So that allows like anyone to just transfer around the NFTs, and that presents a problem because we use the NFTs to represent ownership of deposits. And what we did during the fund rescue was we just did the hack ourselves and basically transferred everyone's NFT to like our contract and transfer all the funds, like withdraw all the funds into the governance treasury. And what happened? I think it's been said, but yeah, like the Immunefi team contacted us in our chat group, and then we they I'm not sure if this is like interesting. This is just like a series of events.
Yeah, probably best to just talk about the next step regarding the rescued funds, and maybe we can ask also Duncan to comment on the past event.
Yeah, so we should be able to send all the funds back to the respective users in a few hours. And after that, we'll also like look at how to reimburse the floating rate bondholders who kind of lost their MPH like reward during the process.
Yep. So we will announce shortly the next step regarding that. Also with the floating rate bond MPH rewards, we will communicate more. And just wanted to ask the last questions for Duncan or even also Ashik. Do you have any afterthoughts regarding the way we handle the situation, regarding what can be improved in the way we are handling these kind of things, and what's next for 88MPH on Immunefi?
I think you guys handled this great. My advice generally to projects is that everything that can be made possible should be. One of the things that made the response here on Monday a lot easier was the ability to pause the affected contracts and make sure that the vulnerability couldn't be exploited. Immunefi has been in situations before where this wasn't possible, and let me tell you, it's a real nail biter as you submit transactions into Taichi and oh, stop it, you stupid cat. And just like cross your fingers and wait for confirmation and hope that your block doesn't get uncled and front run. So you guys have done a great job there. The response time was excellent. Yeah, I want to hear. I want to hear from Ashik about what he thinks of this whole situation.
Yeah, I pretty much echo those exact thoughts. The response time was really good. So it was actually a bit funny on my side. So I saw the bug about 12 hours before I submitted it to Immunefi, and that's just because it took a while for it to escalate up to that point. So I think I messaged, I think it was McFly, just before I got to the point where I saw that it was critical, and that was around 12:30 in the morning. And immediately after I submitted the bug, Immunefi got back, asked to set up a boardroom, and then you guys paused the contract within 2 hours, which I thought was really excellent. So, definitely commend you guys for having a really good response. But yeah, I'm just really glad that everything is safe. Yeah, it's great because there's definitely quite a bit of funds. So yeah, and like Duncan said, it might be good to always, I guess, consider having some sort of pause function. Even though people do argue decentralization versus ownership rights and all that, but it might be good to scale into something more decentralized, once contracts are more robust. I think that's sort of the opinion that's sort of floating around more now.
Yeah, definitely something where we cannot try our best to have a good compromise between decentralization, but also thinking about the way you handle emergency situation like this one. We got some experience before with this kind of events, so it's always really a mess when you are 100% decentralized and you are arguing about that. But when things turn really bad, it's kind of not really a benefit for your project. So yeah, there is a lot of guys at the beginning when we launched 88MPH in last November, following some days, weeks, we were having a lot of comments in different groups related to the way we were handling ownership of contract, control over different way of minting, this kind of thing. And yeah, people were arguing, yeah, it could be a rogue. You were able to steal the money of your users by doing that or this. But yeah, it's really a hard equilibrium to find. I don't know if you have any specific opinion regarding that or experience with the right equilibrium to have regarding that, but it's really hard as a founder to find it.
So what we've seen frequently is handing over pauser control to like a one of n multisig, or even using OpenZeppelin's access control, adding like a pauser role and then handing that over to some trusted community members. And then having the unpauser role be like a governance or a DAO, with the idea being, right, you always want there to be the ability to respond quickly in the event of a crisis, but you want to minimize the ability of those first responders to be able to, leverage their role for profit or manipulate the assets in the system. It is a really hard balance to strike, but you can, at the very least, decentralize, if not fully distribute, that responsibility. And if you limit it to the ability to pause the contract, and then of course always supply a emergency withdraw function, which even if the contract is paused, lets users pull their funds out. I think that's the appropriate balance here. Make it so that in the absolute worst case, the worst that can happen is that nobody makes any yield.
Really interesting sort of solution, giving a pause function to a larger portion, and then the unpause, the more significant, to less people. That's really interesting. I mean, the whole decentralization in DeFi situation is a difficult one, because realistically, people are in DeFi majority for the yields, right? A lot of people are in it for the tech in essence, but realistically it's for the yields. And if a project is producing a really great protocol with lots of high yields, and it's not very decentralized, the control is in the hands of a few, most people don't really mind, and at this point it's kind of still more about like the money as opposed to necessarily the ethos of decentralization. What you said, McFly, about lots of people in your early days of NPH saying with being able to mint, you can essentially rug by infinite mint. I do think one of the most important things to mitigate against that is being a doxed founder, right? Your face is on the project and people know who you are. People can reach out to you on LinkedIn, this kind of thing. I think that's a really underappreciated thing in DeFi, because people love the pseudo anonymity or the anonymity in DeFi, especially amongst developers. I do think it's a bit of a sticking point for lots of people, though, to not know who has control of your funds.
Yep, definitely. There is just right balance with what Duncan was saying also, and probably putting a human face on what you are building is also appropriate to build trust, basically, even if it's a bit silly and naive approach. I think it's kind of like a human process, building this kind of community that trusts your product. So yeah, definitely yes.
I mean, there's you say it could be a bit naive. You're right. I mean, I don't want to be putting accusations out there that might not be true. But when what was it called? That protocol that got hacked, Kyle Chase. I don't know, that dog's founder. He gave me uncertain vibes. What was that called? That Launchpad? Can't remember. Kyle Chase was a Docs founder, and it got rugged, and he put out a video of himself saying, I'm really sorry to everyone for the protocol being hacked, but it was almost certainly an inside job. So yeah, being a Docs founder isn't everything.
Yeah, you can play it, but
this is something that Immunefi has been trying to gather advice from the community on. How do you retain enough flexibility in a protocol to respond to situations, but also remove the ability to rug, particularly around the ability to mint new project tokens. We're still actually soliciting feedback about that. So if members of the MPH community have input, I am listening.
To accept your feedback, just for anyone who's listening who wants to offer.
That was Duncan who said that, right?
Yeah, it was like, where do you send the feedback to? Do you send it to you on Telegram, or is there like a certain channel that you'd like to accept feedback?
Oh, right. Sorry. Where do I submit? Where do we add feedback there? You can email us. You can join our Discord. You can message me on Telegram. Really anywhere you can reach us, we're listening.
Great. I sent you a quick message, Duncan. I have a bunch of thoughts on that. I'll have to send you later tonight when I get some time to collect them.
Fantastic. I'm excited.
I'd like to open it up to the general community here. Does anyone have any questions for any of our guests here? And if so, I believe that you can unmute yourself and go ahead.
I don't think everyone can unmute. There is some guys who are just listener. We joined up with another link, but we can maybe.
I think I can click to allow them to speak. Who is it that was the winner? The person asking, sorry.
Josh, maybe just this portion. Is it possible for us to just unmute everyone? Just give everyone access, just in case they have a question.
Yeah, doing so now.
Thank you.
Cool. Everyone's allowed to speak now.
So for anyone who has a question, just feel free to please jump right in.
I have a quick question for is Eitan is still Eaton is it Eaton or Eitan? Am I saying that right?
Eitan.
I have a question about B.Protocol, and I've been a little bit inactive on Discord for the past week and a half because I've been very busy. But has there been an update on the integration of BTC A vaults via Maker?
So no update yet. It's in the making. I hope we can announce the final date during next week, and the launch itself will be shortly after that.
Great.
If there are no other questions, McFly, I don't know if you have anything else to add, but if you want, we could do our raffle now, and then we could sort of just focus on some 88 MPH stuff if there is any. Do we want to run the raffle here in Telegram, or do we want to do it in Discord?
Let's go on Telegram, and yeah, I will see if the winner is on Discord, and I will tip it directly there.
Okay, perfect. So how this works, everyone, is we will be choosing a number from 1 to 50, and the closest user will win $100 worth of 88 MPH. So McFly will be posting a number in our private group, and the user that is closest will win the lucky prize. So we'll give you guys about 30 seconds to go ahead and do so in Telegram. Please go ahead.
Yeah, and meanwhile, just wanted to thank our guests, Eitan, Duncan, Ashik, to have joined us today. Really cool to have you guys. Thanks for your time. The following minutes will be probably more about specific events or next step for us in our roadmap related to specific stuff related to 88 MPH, basically. So if you want to leave us right now, feel free. And if you want to stay with us, you are welcome, of course. But yeah, thanks for your time. And yeah, glad to have you on board.
Real quick. Simula, Rencito, Robo, Sargent, Abel, and Kerwin, and Yui, I suppose. If you guys all want to put your numbers in the 88 MPH chat, not sure if everyone got that message. And then anyone else, if I missed one of you that was a listener and not actually a speaker, I do apologize.
Guys, I would just say thanks for having me tonight. It was my first Telegram call, so it was a great experience. Yeah, so and we'll be happy to come again in a few months and update on whatever is going on with this integration and other stuff. So thanks for
tonight. Thanks a lot, Eitan and Duncan and Ashik. This was a fantastic call, very informative. I feel like I learned a lot from your projects and just different things. So thank you guys for coming out. I'm sure everyone enjoyed. I'm to go ahead and sorry, Josh, go ahead, bud.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mike, I actually clicked that accidentally. You carry on.
Well, thank you guys very much for having me. I really cherish the opportunity to speak to you guys, community. Y'all are awesome.
Thanks, Duncan.
Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like the winner of the 88 MPH raffle is Yui. Congratulations, my friend. I don't know if you're on Discord, but if you're not, please join the 88 MPH on Discord, where you will get your prize will be tipped to you by our CC bot.
Yes, I'm on Discord. Thank you.
Great.
Nice. I think that's the first one that was exactly on the number, right?
That was the first that was right on
Yeah,
the number.
first time.
Wow.
Nice. Good job, man.
Thank you.
So Yui's in our group with B.Protocol, and when he put that number, I said he must have seen it, and I realized it was the wrong group that McFly put it in.
Yeah, I did think that. I saw 242s appear in the same time on my sidebar in Telegram, and I thought, goodness.
I was like, no way.
Cool.
Perfect.
Awesome, guys.
So I will pass this back to McFly to wrap things up. McFly, please.
Oh, wait, no, he's not
Yep.
on there.
So I won't go back on the next step related to the event on Monday. As we told you guys, it will happen in a few hours, hopefully. We will keep you posted here and on Twitter and Discord. The next big things for us, as always, we are trying to wrap up the work we are still doing on the front end. I shared a sneak peek this week on Twitter regarding how it will look. I hope everyone enjoy that, and there will be still a lot of work to iterate on these kind of things. But yeah, it's the first version, so we have a lot of time to continue improving that. So we are kind of close to finish the front end connecting stuff. Yesterday, the front deployed a new version on Rinkeby with a new subgraph too, so it will improve the way we are finishing up the front end. So talking about also Rinkeby, probably it's a good idea, and we are already discussing that with Immunefi. We will run a bug bounty directly on Immunefi for this specific version when we are ready, just to make sure that we can improve any aspect of the V3, because yeah, like building trust is really important for us. So that was the thing. The other big events I wanted to announce is our participation in ETH Global. That will start. It will start next week. We will have some workshops with the community there. Pretty excited by that. And we were having a question in the chat related to what can be built on top of 88 MPH. Just on top of my head, you can basically build stuff related to improving the capital efficiency of 88 MPH, using, for example, the bonds for doing something else with it, minting a synthetic asset, basically building derivative on top of that. Other things are related to the way to simplify the user experience or integrating it with an existing tool. I was mentioning before yesterday, I think in another chat, that there is probably some market to capture related to the way other protocol, for example, Sushi, are handling their governance treasury. If you take a look at the forum of Sushi, they are currently discussing the way to handle that, talking about strategy, deploying capital on other protocol to generate some yield and ensure the long-term sustainability of the protocol. So probably there is tool to build there specifically for handling that with a multi-sig, or at least having a better control and user experience for this kind of capital management, asset management. So these kind of things, we will be really happy to see it deployed and developed during ETH Global. Also, anything related to layer 2 stuff happening currently with ZK Sync. Pretty excited by that here at 88MPH, so feel free to build on top of that too. The total price will be $7,500. The first price will be $4,000. The runner-up will be $1,500, and after we have a pooled price where we will put $2,000, and it will be evenly distributed to everyone who at least use a certain percentage of 88MPH to do something else interesting with it. So that's the first big event for us. EVE Global is a pretty massive hackathon, so we are really happy to be onboarded there as a sponsor too. The other good news is we will be sponsor of the next Gitcoin grant, the 10th version, also happening next week. And if I'm not wrong, I think it will last for the next 4 weeks, if I'm remembering well. Correct me if I'm wrong. So also a huge event where a lot of users, developers will be able to test out things with our 88MPH v3. So pretty excited by that too. And I think it's really a good way for us to attract new talents, attract new eyes on us, because it's really a cool organic way of growing what we are currently building. And targeting developers is probably a good idea. At least it worked well for other big players right now. Like I'm thinking about Aave and Compound and others who are like really with a big community of developers around them. So yeah, kind of the strategy we want to pursue. And the last one, we will be at EVCC in Paris on July 10th as a sponsor too. We will probably run some workshops at EVCC. So if you are around in Paris, feel free to join us. It will be 3 days of FunConf workshops and also parties all around Paris. So yeah, pretty excited by that too. So yeah, don't hesitate to say hi if you are around. And yeah, I think that's the world updates.
See you guys at ECC.
And Josh will be there too.
Yeah, I'm excited.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for that. I am going to, does anyone have any other questions that they want to go ahead and put forward? Okay. I will officially close the call, but please feel free to stick around if anyone wants to still chat. I know that Fly just mentioned quite a few things there.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Really cool community call as always. So next week we will run also a community call. If I'm not mistaken, we will welcome Phantom and we will welcome ZK Sync. So it will be a scaling battle directly on our next community call. Really excited by that.
That'll be a great one.
That's a call. That's a call.
So yeah, thanks everyone. Have a good one.
Thank you guys for coming out. Looking forward to our next weekly call, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Yep.